Do you have an old iPhone laying around running iOS 17? How about repurposing it for maybe a senior or a child? Have a look at this, and I'm going to show you how you can do this yourself. So here we are. We want to set up Assistive Access. That's right. Repurposed iPhone, and like I was saying, it's great to give to a senior, maybe your mother, or maybe a child, and you want to set it up just so that they have just the basics and they're not having to worry about all these apps and how to use everything. So let's go ahead and open up settings, and we'll just go ahead and scroll right through to accessibility. And then in accessibility, you're going to scroll all the way down to where it says Assistive Access, and here it is. And you can literally set it up right in here, either with that rows like we looked at, or the grid view, which I certainly prefer. And then you have some options here on the bottom. You can change the wallpaper or the background. You can allow the volume buttons to work, which is really important. Show the time on the lock screen, the battery level on the home screen, and of course notifications if you would like the person you're going to be giving this to see the notifications. And of course you have all the stuff like Siri you can set up and passcode settings. The key thing you want to remember, two key things actually. One is obviously the passcode, you want to know it, and the other person shouldn't know it or doesn't need to know it. And the second is you want to set up your Apple ID so you have recovery in case someone forgets their passcode. This way the phone isn't locked out. So let's scroll back up to the top here, and we'll go ahead and manage the apps. So let's go ahead and add the Apple apps that are optimized. So in here you have options for calls. You can select only certain people, everyone, all contacts. I like everyone because, let's be honest here, you don't know who's going to call you, but if it is for a child, perhaps you just want to have a list of maybe 5 or 6 people who should call them. And again, you have all the options for the camera. You can turn on the photos, the selfies, the video, and the video selfie. So you have access, and you can, again, select how many or how little you want of these. Same thing in messages. Who can contact this person? Only contacts, everyone. And then you can actually go ahead and have a little bit of things like tap to hear the message. So you can listen to it if you tap on it, or conversation details. So the tap to hear is actually quite interesting, especially for people who are either visually impaired, don't know how to read, and not necessarily an adult who doesn't know how to read. Of course, that's always possible. But maybe a child who doesn't know how to read yet, or doesn't know how to read very well. And then you have, of course, things like your keyboard, your video selfies, your emojis. You can select all those things as you see fit. Apple Music, I'm going to skip that one. Photos will allow photos to be connected. And then you can go in and look at some other apps that have access. In this case, I think something like maybe the weather app. Again, you can show the weather from wherever or always. So we're going to give it allow access. Maybe Safari. Maps, maybe if you're going to need to give someone directions where to go. Your contacts obviously would be a wise choice. And then maybe something basic like calculator. I don't know, Anyways, we can, and maybe calendar also. And again, we'll give it access to everything, and we'll leave it like that. That's a great starting spot. And again, you can go ahead and customize this as much or as little as you want. So all we're going to do is hit the Start Assistive Access. We're going to put in the passcode that we previously set. So now that we have it in the grid view, let's go ahead and take a look and see what we can do. As you can see, there's all the little icons, and we can go ahead and click right away on one of them. So let's start with phone, and as you can see, you can do previous calls, or you can actually go ahead and make a phone call. And there's the keypad, just as you would expect. Putting in a number, no problem. Easy to make a call or correct the number. Now, when we go to messages, obviously there's nothing there in this case, but you'd see messages there. Here's the camera view. You can see all the buttons are nice and big, very easy to use. And of course, when we open up something like the weather, we can see the weather. Looks like a normal weather, and the big back button. And here we are in calendar, exactly like you would expect with, again, that large back button. And when we open up Safari, it's just how Safari would look on a normal iPhone, just with a bigger back button. And it's really easy for anyone to use, as you can see. It's big, huge buttons. Calculator looks just the way the calculator would look. And of course, you can go ahead and customize this a little bit more. If you want, you can go ahead and pop into the settings here. Of course, you need to know the passcode. And you can change something like the text size. You can change the appearance, networking, volume, brightness, or just shut down the actual device. And again, that big back button gives you so much more capability, especially for a child or a senior or someone who's just not tech savvy. Now that we're in the row view, we can see that there's a lot of similarities between the row view and the grid view. As you can see, instead of it being in little icons that are rounded, now you have the rows, which just show a list of all the icons. Very similar when you do calls, looks the same with that big back button. Messages is going to be the exact same. And in fact, almost all the apps will look the same in either view. The functionality will be the same. The real difference is just the layout of the icons. So instead of having those big icons, you have smaller rows. And depending on what you need, you would see that one of these two views is the right one for you. And here we have it, exactly how we had set it up with all the options for the person to use. And it's really easy to do. And for them to turn it off, they'll have to triple click the sleep wake button, which we'll do right now. And it gives you the settings. And again, if they don't know the passcode or they don't know what they're doing, they can't actually do anything. So if I put in random passcodes, it doesn't work. So again, you're going to want to select a passcode that is unique enough that you'll remember, but not obvious enough that someone else will. And you can also see here how the notifications look. It gives you the little bell with the word new. Fairly simple, fairly easy. And like I showed you before, we have the options when we go into the triple. Let's go ahead and open that for a second here. And we'll go into the settings here. And I'm going to go ahead and put the code in. And you can adjust the size. And if you go all the way up to that 310%, let's go back all the way. You see it becomes more of that row style, but everything is visible. Again, very large, very easy to see. Some apps still don't show up very big everywhere else, but the actual number shows up big, as you can see. And so on and so forth. A really, really great idea for a child, for adults, for grandparents, for someone who's not tech savvy, perhaps someone who's a little bit more of a slow learner. There's so many options here of where you can use it. And I love the fact that Apple has added this into iOS 17. I think it is a real great way to get more life out of your old iPhone, especially for a family member or a caregiver. You know, anyways, it's just personally a great idea in my opinion, because I hope this tutorial helped, and I hope you guys get good use out of this feature that the iPhones now support with iOS 17. This is John. Here's a couple other videos that you might like, and feel free to subscribe.